Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of The Grandstand here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I'm, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot, and for today's episode, we're going to be going over a handful of different topics, mostly stuff we've talked about many times on the channel before, because really, in the end of the day, every beginning has an end, and every end has a new beginning. And basically, that's what happened with the network on Twitter. We talked about that yesterday. And as far as I'm aware, looking at it from the email perspective and stuff like that, it looks like it is a permanent ban, permanent suspension there over some bullshit. And the thing is, like, not knowing how to fight it properly and stuff like that, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll start fresh, and that's what we're doing. And so yeah, if you're on Twitter, check out real OPEN 61322. That's what our new handle is there. Because that's the actual real Ohio Patriot Education Network Twitter account now. And I say that specifically because apparently sometime this month, some random douchebag stole our fucking name and made up some bullshit account on that site that has no tweets on it at all, has no actual thing relating to us at all on it, and is followed by like 100 people for some reason. So I don't know what the fuck's going on there, man. It's really weird. And they have like some Sony network logo or whatever as their profile pic. So I have no idea what's going on there, but if I find out who that motherfucker is, needless to say, there's going to be a lawsuit up their ass on that one because I actually own the rights to the fucking name Ohio Patriot Education Network. And yeah, you're asking for trouble with that motherfucker. You're asking for a giant lawsuit right now. Straight up your ass with that. So anyway, like I said, I created this over a year ago. I actually have the legal fucking paperwork for it. I'm not going to show it on camera or anything like that, but like, I own this fucking name. So stop using our fucking name unless you want to get your ass sued for fucking copyright infringements and stuff like that is what it is. But anyway, yeah, that being said, we're back on Twitter now. Like I said, it's at RealOPN61322 is our hashtag on there. We're going to call it there our little at thingy. So I'll be tweeting again on there at some point here in the near future about stuff. Probably issue 1 is my guess a lot. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's happened in the past couple of days. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. So this is one thing I thought was interesting too, by the way. So yesterday, you had that fucking pedophile piece of shit John Legend come here to Ohio, and I say he's a pedophile piece of shit because his wife, Chrissy Teigen, outed herself, and Obama a few years ago on Twitter, where she was literally admitting that all three of them were having orgies with children at the White House back then. And, when people say shit like that, I'm going to believe them, honestly, because usually they're telling the truth is what it is, dude. Usually they're sick fucks like that. And that's the whole point entirely. And the fact that they're like, oh, well, we're going to do this thing or that thing, whatever it's going to be. And then you realize and you start to understand that, like, yeah, these people are just pieces of shit entirely, bro. So there's actually a video that I do want to show here too as well on this episode. We're going to talk about it tomorrow on I think we're going to talk a little bit about it more tomorrow on the Buckshot Thursday. But that being said, I kind of want to talk about today too, because it's basically you have Congress right now trying to fuck with our gun rights again, because they always do, man, every single time, and that's the problem, right? And it's like, it's time to just end all this shit, dude, for real. Like, it's time to just end this fucking shit. Force these people out of positions of power, force them into prison where they belong, depending on severity of the crime, deprivation of the law stuff, like, it's either life imprisonment or death penalty at that point. And, it needs to be a hard stance at this point, honestly, dude, because if we are not willing as a country to stand up for our founding principles and stand up for our founding documents being the U.S. Constitution and have the fuckers who are supposed to be our representation abide by their oaths of office, then we don't have a country anymore. It's just a bunch of corrupt criminals at that point. And that's exactly what it's become in my lifetime, honestly. And the worst part of it is when you have people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Maxine Waters and stuff like that, or Dianne Feinstein for that matter, Like that's what I basically consider to be the core at this point. Like those four are like the core of the '90s that basically, as far as I'm aware, all had their names attached to the Assault Band 94 and were the only handful of people to actually survive being primary the fuck out in the next election cycles, or even having that seat flipped in the next election cycles is what it was. Because that's one thing people never really talk about with the Assault Band 1994, actually, is how the years after that, 96, 98, 2000, etc., when you had, various congressional seats up for re-election, and then obviously also Senate seats at that point, again, 96, 98, 2000, 2002, etc., etc. Every single person, with the exception of a couple there, like I mentioned, which was like Schumer and those people and stuff, almost everybody that was not a known Democrat at that point, like a known Pelosi type or whatever at that point, all got put out of office for signing on to gun control, as they should have been. And not only should they have been voted out of office, dude, they should be in federal prison right now to this day, honestly, because the problem is it's a big fucking issue right now. Okay, so we're actually just going to go to Twitter right now, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what the network's account is right here. So it is real, REAL, open, all capital letters, OPEN, 6/13/22. And I assure you that we do exist here because I am literally looking at my profile right now. So wish you did the black and white this time around. So, but yeah, you can see it says right there. That's what our line is. So actually, let me just go ahead and I'm gonna copy and paste that actually, and I'll just put it in the side chat here. There we go. That's what our new Twitter handle is there. So, which I shouldn't even have to do this honestly to begin with, because it's like it's fucking ridiculous that speaking the truth about what criminals do in this country gets you a permanent suspension. What's even more fucked up though is that it's like it wasn't like a day later, it wasn't like a couple days later, it wasn't a week later, it wasn't a month later. It was like legit like 6 months to a year later from those original tweets, dude. And it's like, okay, so it was fine up to this point, but yet all of a sudden it became a problem. So it does kind of make me wonder, honestly. It's like, was it algorithms, or was it some stupid fucking leftist cunt like an Anna Shraver, that dumb bitch that worked for Columbus Dispatch and a bunch of other fucking fake news rags in this state right now? Or was it some stupid cunt like Maria Bruno from Equality, Ohio, who I called out the other day on the network's page because she's obviously against House Bill 245, which is basically to ban drag performances in public squares and stuff like that and have it be not allowed in public parks and shit like that. And it's like, yeah, they shouldn't be, dude, because they're literally sexualized performances. And that's the entire point of the matter. So, shit, now I gotta go. Y'all making me do work, man. I gotta go back on Twitter again. No, actually, it won't let me do it. Let me think about it. Okay, no, never mind. Okay, yeah, here we go. It'll be the twitter.com itself then. So that should be us right now. We just created it like an hour ago. So I should say I just created it like an hour ago. I usually say we because I mean the network itself is what it is. So anyway, it should be on there. Yeah. Like I'm looking at it right now. I just don't have any tweets or anything like that right now. So actually, now that I say that I'm looking to follow more people now, I just realized that now. I'm like, hey, I need to go follow more people now. So let's see. I follow that dude. Follow that chick. That guy's pretty good. Follow Tim Young. Libertarian. I kind of want to follow Vivek at this point, honestly. This might as fucking well, honestly. You know what I'm saying? He's a good dude. A hypocrite. Crazy Clips is a good one. Wall Street Silver. I'm posting L's. Ashley St. Clair. Yeah, I think we're good on that one now for the time being. But anyway, so basically, what was I gonna say then? Shit. Yeah, let's shut that now. Oh yeah. So basically, going back to what I was saying about John Legend. So you had that motherfucker show up in Ohio yesterday for some bullshit concert. Here's what it was, to basically stomp for the Vote No campaign on issue 1 is what it was. Because of course he would, because he's a fucking piece of shit leftist. Literally special interest, out of state motherfucker is what it is, dude. Even though technically he is a native of the state, and by native I mean he was born in Springfield, Ohio, and then left the state as a small child is what it sounds like to me, honestly, at least from what I've looked into the guys what it was, or at least in his adulthood anyway. And he literally lives in California at this point, dude. So it's like, bro, you have no fucking business. It's just like that bitch Amy Schrader, by the way. And by those who don't know who the fuck that is, that's that trans guy who fucking, or I should say that's that man who claimed to be a trans woman who won all those Jeopardy games back to back and stuff like that. That piece of shit, who also lives in California, by the way, came back here to Ohio like 4 or 5 months ago and was like, oh, I'm totally against this anti-trans bill. It's like, bitch, you don't even live in this fucking state anymore. This does not affect your dumbass. Stay the fuck out of my state, special interest fucker. In fact, the only reason your bitch ass has a fucking name in the state anyway is because you literally stole a fucking woman's title in Jeopardy, you asshole. And that's what I think is even more of a slap in the face to the chicks who actually won legitimately in that fucking game. You had the actual biological females that were part of the Jeopardy Hall of Fame and stuff like that had the most wins legitimately, get beat by this fucking dude who claimed to be a woman, and then want to sit there and congratulate this asshole and being like, oh my god, you're so fucking great. And like, no, they're not, dude. They are a fucking dude pretending to be something else who is then going to go on a whole thing and be a fucking giant asshole and fuck over your accomplishment, and yet you're gonna sit there and just take it in the ass. Like, it fucking blows my mind, honestly, dude. It really does. And that's exactly why we've gone to psychotic lunatic land at this point in history. And I am so fucking over it, honestly, right now. But one thing I thought was interesting, and this really does, to me, like, it's funny to me, too, because you have, like I said on this channel many times, you have Reddit and stuff like that, where you got those people in the Ohio subreddit basically being like, oh, went out and voted no today, and you have like it's legitimately, if you look at all the posts combined together, it's like a couple hundred people at most is what it is. And then of course you have like some thread today or yesterday, I believe is what it was, where you had some chick being like, oh, there was a bunch of boomers in here, they're probably gonna vote for it. And it's like, God, way to be an ageist piece of shit, you fucking leftist cunts. Like, that's what I hate about these people so much, dude. Like, they are anti-elderly, they are anti-American. They are just fucking scumbags entirely. Which brings me to another point I want to point out today, actually, on this one, which is the latest coming out of Twitter here, which is that piece of shit, Will Thomas, the guy that claimed to be Leah Thomas, the fucking swimmer, who is now going around in fake-ass military garb shit here, calling themselves an Antifa super soldier. And as Vivek Ramaswamy pointed out yesterday, he said, man who competed in women's NCAA swimming competition is now reportedly embracing Antifa. This is not surprising. The modern secular cults, from transgenderism to cult climatism, all share one thing in common. They're anti-American at their core. And then we're going to go actually read this article here from Breitbart. Yeah, we got transgender NCAA swimmer Leah Thomas embraces domestic terrorist group Antifa. This is what I don't understand, right? How in the fuck in 2022 is Antifa not a nationwide terrorist organization at this point? The same thing with Black Lives Matter, for that matter, dude. Like, how are both of those orgs not considered terrorist cults at this point? Because they've obviously done enough shit to be labeled as terrorists at this point, dude. Like, they commit terrorist attacks every fucking day when they do direct actions and stuff like that, and all kinds of rioting after 2020 and everything else like that. Yeah, it says a controversial NCAA swimming champion, Will Thomas, is stirring up pot once again, this time by posting images on social media showing himself modeling a militaristic t-shirt in support of the domestic terrorist group Antifa. Said Thomas is seen in a photo wearing black sunglasses and an Antifa shirt reading Antifa Super Soldier, which it looks like it's not even spelled. Actually, I think they spelled it wrong, because it actually has an I there after the D. Along with the bondage-style military-esque leather gear, he is also holding up his hand in a mock peace sign. Apparently, I found out something interesting recently. So I guess if you do one-handed peace sign with one hand, and then like another one that's like an opposite, like downways or whatever. It's apparently like some kind of symbolization for like demonism or something, like specifically like some like lesser demon that wasn't Lucifer, I guess, or something, to like summon that motherfucker. So it's pretty interesting, actually. So that could be what that asshole was doing, honestly. Anyway, it says Antifa is widely considered a domestic terrorist group and has been at the forefront of destructive protests that resulted in millions of property damage over the last decade. Image was shared on Instagram by Thomas's partner, Gwen Luxembourg, whose account is set to private. Said Thomas is, of course, the University of Pennsylvania swimmer who, for 3 years, competed with little discretion in the men's division, but suddenly jumped to race-winning status after, quote, transitioning to a woman and joining the girls' swim team. Yeah, they didn't transition anything, dude, because they couldn't transition using hormones because it would have disqualified their asses based on the fact they were doped the fuck up is what it is. Anyway, it says UPenn allowed Thomas to claim to be a transgender athlete and compete with women despite opposition by the women, including Riley Gaines, who we now know is famous because of that. That's what it is. And also despite the fact that Thomas had not gone through the length of having transitional surgeries and still sports his male genitalia, aka dick and balls. Says Thomas also met opposition from many, including famed tennis star Marina Navratilova, who blasted UPenn for submitting Thomas's name for the NCAA's Woman of the Year award. Former NCAA champion Riley Gaines also insisted that many people inside the world of the NCAA swimming opposed Thomas's inclusion in women's sports, but were afraid to speak up over the fear of being attacked by left-wing cancel culture and in some cases even losing their jobs. And what's fucked up, actually, if you look at Riley Gaines' whole entire story there is, Riley actually came out and talked about that, how apparently you would have Will's ass go into the women's locker room, fucking dick and balls hanging out, swinging around everywhere, while these chicks were basically either half naked or fully naked because they were getting ready to go, take showers after the meets and stuff like that. And you had him basically go in there and creep around on their asses. And what was even worse was when they called it out to the upper management people and stuff like that, like the actual coaches and the, dean of the college and everything else like that, they're all like, just shut your mouth. This is good for us because now we're making money. Like it basically canceled these chicks is what it was. And that's what I'm saying, dude. Like, that's what I understand about how the whole thing right now is. Like, how is there not a massive class action lawsuit by every chick on that fucking swim team against both the college of the University of Pennsylvania and against that piece of shit Will Thomas by direct name at that point then? So, yeah, it just blows my mind, honestly. And that's the entire point right now is, and I feel like it's the same shit with schools these days. When you have these people who are pushing this ideology, this trans ideology, whether it be these indoctrinators, want to call themselves teachers, whether it be these school staffers, these principals, whatever the case be, how are these parents that have their children in these school districts not suing the fuck out of every single one of these schools to the point where the lawsuits end with them owning the fucking school systems? That's what needs to happen right now. These schools need to be parent owned, honestly. And then we can actually get back to fucking sanity because we don't have a bunch of woke assholes in our fucking school systems anymore, is what it is, dude. So, anyway. But, what was I going to say then? Oh, yeah. So going back to what I was saying, beginning with, though, with that fucking clown-ass bitch, John Legend. So you had the ACLU of Ohio, which we know for a fact is a Soros organization. At this point, it's all bought and paid for by George Soros. They're also one of the main ones behind the Vote No campaign here. They put out the following yesterday for that idiot John Legend, which says, "Thank you, John Legend, for visiting your home state and urging Ohioans to vote no on issue 1. And this was the fucking turnout, by the way, was these people right here. Some blue-haired dipshits, some chick with blue hair and purple hair. I don't know. I'm doing a guesstimation on this one. 50 to 70 people, maybe, in that picture. If even that many. And I'm guessing that was their entire crowd. Because you notice how the left does stuff where they'll, you'll have them do the camera up like a little bit or whatever, so it looks like you have like a larger crowd than you do, but they do it like, it's almost like direct back is what it is. So you're putting it like, let me go ahead and do an example of this. So, like, let's go ahead and say I take my phone out or whatever to do, like, a selfie with a bunch of people and stuff. Like, it's basically like this. Like, you're holding it like that. So it's, like, almost directly behind you is what you're seeing. Or, like, just, like, above you a little bit like that. Kind of like how it looks like that chick had hers thing. When in reality, if you did it, like, way the fuck up here, you would show the entire crowd. And it would actually be, like, not a whole lot of people at all. Which makes sense because you're talking about people going out on a Tuesday to some concert in the middle of the afternoon by some jackass dude from Hollywood who, number one, is a known pedophile at this point. And then also, people have jobs, is what it is, or at least some do anyway. I know there are some leftists out there who do have jobs in this country and in this state. Not a whole lot, but, you know, this is basically my assumption was the people that were there, that 50 to 70, give or take, were the ones who did not have jobs, or like that blue hair in the back, pink hair, purple hair, whatever it was in the front there. Her ass probably works for the ACLU or some, like, you know, dipshit fucking, like, rando lawyer that supports them is what it is or whatever there. I could totally see that being the case, honestly. So, anywho. Yeah, it's just really fucking infuriating is what it is, man. Just like all the shit with all the gun control recently. And we'll talk about that tomorrow more on Buckshot Thursday, honestly, because I haven't really looked into the whole Massachusetts thing much anymore. I know that there's stuff in the NDA. I was going to call it. Damn it. I just realized that now. It's after 5 already, so I can't do it now. But I meant to call JD Vance's office today and at least leave a message with his people or whatever then and be like, yeah, please have him vote against the fucking NDA at this point that has gun control mixed into it. And what's interesting is last night I was talking to Honda and them obviously on his chat, and we were discussing my, you know, suspension from Twitter there under the original account, and how, as Honda put it, and I agree with this 100%, there should be a person behind every single one of those decisions. It shouldn't just be some AI bot. It shouldn't be some algorithm, whatever the case be. If you're going to do that to people, have it be reviewed by a human being. If it's determined that, yeah, they broke, like, and this is the thing too, right? Okay. Even, let's say I did break the rules on that one with the shit or whatever they want to claim it is, which I did not believe anyway. Because all I was simply saying with the set of tweets that they claim that I fucking broke the rules with was I was saying this is a person that has committed these crimes and that is this charge that they should be charged with. How is that inciting violence, dude? How is that inciting violence? How is that glorifying violence? How is that wishing harm upon them, et cetera, when you're simply saying, for a fact, this person has committed, you know, crimes against humanity or high treason, whatever the case be. And in that case, both of those crimes, by the way, is the actual death penalty. Not to mention, we used to hang people for fucking spies or for fucking being spies in this country up until like the 1930s or 40s, whatever it was there. Which is exactly what that piece of shit Eric Sowell did a couple years ago. He was banging Chinese spies, dude. But yet he's not only not in prison, he is actively still a sitting congressman. Like, how the fuck? How in the fuck? It just completely is insane. It just makes you feel like you're going insane, honestly. Because it's just these fucking insane people that want to just push this psychotic lunacy everywhere, dude. Speaking of psychotic lunacy, I think that's what we're going to end off today's episode with, which is basically this stupid bitch who is apparently a congresswoman from California, and more proof that not only does California not need to have 53 Congress people in it, actually I think it's 52 now if I'm not mistaken. It was 53 now, I think it's 52 now is what it is. But yeah, not only do they not need to have over 50 congressmen from that state representing America, they need to have fucking 0 at this point. And I mean that legitimately, dude. I don't care if it's right, left, center, whatever the case be. They need to be the first state that has 0 federal representation at all because of fucking dumbass fucking cunts like Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, who said, "A message to my Republican colleagues, bucking your party, alienating the NRA." Yeah, because there's not more than one fucking pro-2A organization, number one. And number two, as if the NRA's have been pro-2A and not about the fucking money, you dumb bitch. Or potentially risking your seat is worth it to save lives. Let's do the right thing and reinstate the federal assault weapons ban. How about you don't? How about you want to, do the right thing, bitch? How about you fucking do away with gun-free zones which is exactly where every goddamn massacre in this fucking country that you leftist pieces of shit create, Sarah Jacobs, happens. California, right now, your fucking home state, bitch, has the most mass shootings and most massacres in this fucking country. You know what else you have there? You have dickhead Gavin Newsom, who has passed every single fucking gun control that you fucking stupid pieces of shit want federally, including assault weapons ban, including a universal background check, including a magazine ban, including ammo background checks, including safe storage laws, etc., etc., etc. Red flag laws is another one. Everything, dude. They have every fucking thing that they could possibly want, but yet you continue day after fucking day, year after fucking year, have massacre after fucking massacre. And we're going to talk about that here in a couple of weeks, by the way. At the end of the month here, about a week or so from now, I think it's next Friday, after I'm not mistaken, actually, would be the 4th anniversary of the Gilroy Garlic Festival massacre. That, by the way, was a preventable tragedy that, shocker, happened in a fucking gun-free zone, and shocker, the piece of fucking shit that was behind it not only knew it was a fucking gun-free zone because you had gun-free zone signage everywhere, this motherfucker decided, oh, I'm not going to go right at the security right at the front gate there. No, I'm going to go over here to the fucking side where there's nobody and take a pair of bolt cutters and literally cut my fucking way into the goddamn place and then go on a killing spree. And that's exactly what that son of a bitch did, man. He evaded the fucking security that was at the fucking gates there, went around another area to a fenced-in area, took a pair of bolt cutters, cut his fucking way in there, zipped through the hole, and then boom, 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 we started fucking killing people. So, yeah. And instead of actually going pro to it, which is what California should have done, they were one of 3 states that had massacres within a week time span. Actually, it was an 8-day time span, technically speaking. And 2 of the 3, being Texas and Ohio, have since gone constitutional carry. California has gone even more anti-gun. So, anyway. But let's go ahead and hear what this smooth-brained dipshit Sarah Jacobs has to say in this whole thing, though. Because I guarantee she's going to make up some lies on this one. I'm actually going to probably fact-check her on this either today, either right now, here in a couple minutes, or sometime tomorrow for Buckshot Thursday. Because she makes a claim about, like, how much shit went down by. I don't believe that's actually the case. For several reasons, actually. Number one would be the fact that you had crime already trending downwards before the EWB was even instituted for that 10 years. And number 2, you actually had not only violent crime, but all crime going down across the board. And then on top of that, you did not actually have bans on every single thing of the same exact make, model, etc. What you had was you had a feel-good legislation where it was like, oh, is it a black and scary looking rifle? Well, we got to ban it then. And yet, meanwhile, you could have the Ruger Ranch, the Woodstock version of that rifle as well during that time period, but yet you couldn't have the side-folding stock with the, or side-folding black synthetic stock is what it was, version. And that was the only difference, by the way. You had the exact same rifle, 2 different versions of it. One was banned, one was not. And you had that on a bunch of different guns back then. The problem is now, what they want is they don't want to just ban like one particular version of something. They want every single gun in this country banned, because that's their in-game, dude. Because you cannot commit democide, death by government, with a populace that is one of the most heavily fucking armed in every single country in this world right now, where we have more guns in civilian owners' hands than most militaries in other countries have, actually. So, yeah, needless to say, man, if the American people ever got our shit together and were able to come together as like an actual force, dude, we would pretty much own this fucking country after it was said and done, dude. Like, you wouldn't have people standing against us at that point, because we would take back this country by force is what it would be. And I think that's the problem right now, is that you have so many people that are so disorganized is what it is. And you don't, like, that's the real issue, right? Is actually having the people at the top that would be your de facto leadership. Because it's not just going to be like one guy, like a George Washington type, or whatever the case be. It would have to be like a bunch of people, honestly. Or it would be like 30, 40, 50 people, something like that at the top there. That would be leading various squads and various platoons and everything else like that. Because it would be those guys that would be the ex-military dudes and stuff like that. who would be, mercenary types or, private military contractor types, or whatever the case be, or have like a bunch of combat experience that would know like, hey, this is the rules and strategy that we need to go by and stuff like that. And by rules, I mean just like technically it would be like military strategy is what it would be, because that's the problem, right? Like I talk a big game myself, but personally, I would just be some fucking grunt in that place, dude. I would just be some random dude in the back, honestly. It's like, yeah, put a rifle in my hands and I'm good to go, bro. But like, I'm not going to be some fucking leadership dude. I'm going to be some dude listening to everybody else that has the actual strategy and combat experience and everything else like that then. So, and I think for a lot of Americans, it would be that same exact thing. It wouldn't be us that would be, the people that would be kicking something off. It would be the people that would be the veterans of this country that have that experience that would be able to mount a direct offensive against a tyrannical government and stuff like that. That's what it would be if we actually have a real revolution in this country. Which, just to be clear, I'm not calling for that. I'm specifically saying that's what would have to be done for it to be effective enough to basically do something. Now, granted, that being said, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't have like some crazy motherfuckers just kick some shit off themselves or whatever the case be eventually. And then it eventually just becomes a grassroots following kind of thing, or whatever the case be. There was actually a book back in the day, I think it was a comic, if I'm not mistaken, or a graphic novel or something like that, that they made into a really shitty HBO series called DMZ, which basically stood for Demilitarized Zone. And basically, the gist of that thing was, I think it was in Montana, is where the whole thing started, or whatever the case be. And it was like some anti-government types or whatever up there. And then it eventually started widespreading to the rest of America, and people just being frustrated and over it is what it was. And so you had just this big, like, natural grassroots uprising and stuff like that. And I feel like, truthfully, like, that's pretty much what would happen here in America if something ever did happen, is what it is. And unfortunately, I think, being that we have a world of technology and AI algorithms and everything else like that, and just like predictive programming and things like that as well, there's been a lot of talk about how you have governments and mainstream media and stuff like that over the years now have basically tried to condition the American people towards something, but also at the same time, you have these robot tech in the background who are doing all these scenarios and programming and stuff like that is what it is. And you have them basically figuring out like, oh yeah, like if X happens, we need to do Y and Z. Or if like, Z happens, we need to do A and B then and stuff like that to basically combat it. And that's exactly why you've not really seen any major protests from the right in this country, and not even just the right, but like the right or the center for that matter in this country since the bullshit that was January 6th, because people are too fucking afraid anymore. And I know Honda brings this up quite a bit on his channel, and he did last night actually as well on that one. And I will actually reiterate this, and he's right about that one, because you have people who are too afraid in many cases to go out there and speak their minds for fear that they're going to be retaliated against, for fear that they're going to be targeted with some bullshit fucking stuff or whatever, dude. And that even happened here recently. You had, I believe it was Grove City area of Ohio or someplace like that. I was reading an article recently here that was talking about them basically having like two people that were just there that day who are now being brought up on bullshit charges, dude. And it's the same thing with everything else. Like we have for over a year and a half now in this country, political prisoners sitting in confinement, being charged with nothing at that point, just being detained and held indefinitely without any kind of crime, completely breaks so many amendments in the Bill of Rights when it comes to cruel, unusual punishment, etc. And yet we're allowing it to continue on. And it's like, why? Like, why is this allowed to happen, dude? It just blows my mind, honestly. And then, of course, you have, these idiots in Congress, these Democrats, trying to, again, push through unconstitutional shit that, by the way, nobody ever talks about this either, and that's why I will. During 1994, 2004, there were many, many lawsuits challenging the legality of that assault weapons ban. None of them actually got past the first go-around because you had a bunch of fucking Bill Clinton appointed judges, and I think there was actually some George Bush Sr. appointed judges in that as well. So basically it was like a bunch of Dem Rhino fucking cunts is what it was that should have never been holding judgeships in this country. You had these fucking scumbag sons of bitches sit there and turn around and dismiss all these cases at the first go, which was absolute bullshit entirely, because that alone was absolute garbage, because you had them legitimately dismissing a case that had all kinds of legality behind it and had the Constitution behind it as well, for that matter, of it being an unconstitutional piece of shit legislation that was in place for that decade. And that's exactly why it sunset clause after that decade, because they knew for a fact that if it went on any longer than that, they would have never been able to hold that back, and they would have had many cases after that happen to where you would have eventually had some kind of like Heller-Bruin decision is what it would have been then. And that's exactly what we have these decisions now, actually. When you look back at history, what's led to this whole thing, and you look at how we've had these two-way wins over the years, that's why you have the Heller decision. That's why you have the Bruin decision. That's why you have all these other things now. That's why you have Congress here in the next month or two that are going to sit there and they're going to do another one about people that are losing their gun rights over like domestic violence cases and stuff like that, because in a lot of cases it's false reporting of domestic violence stuff. And I believe that was actually because of something that happened in Colorado, where obviously Colorado was one of these cuck-ass states that put in red flag laws there. And you had this dude, they also put in like mag bans and what was it now? Yeah, it was red flag laws and mag bans. I think there was also like some kind of safe storage law in place there, if I'm not mistaken, before everything happened more recently that they did their stuff for like waiting periods and shit. But yeah, so basically you had some guy who his ex-wife or ex-girlfriend or whatever she was to him basically fucked him over and was like falsely claiming that he beat the shit out of her or whatever. And so the cops went to his house and started, basically doing what they do because, jackbooted fucking thugs. I'm not sure if they had a warrant or not. That's what it was. But they were basically searching his place, found a bunch of magazines that were over 15 rounds is what it was, and then also found a bunch of guns that he couldn't have or something supposedly because of this whole thing that they were trying to charge him with or whatever it was. And so they're essentially trying to deprive him of his rights is what it was. And he rightfully, fought this case all the way to the Supreme Court now is what it is. And that's pretty much what's going to lead to, hopefully, the overturning of that bullshit, too. Because, again, I've talked about this before on this channel. There was a dude I know through another person, which was my old neighbor. It was his brother-in-law. This guy, the brother-in-law's ex-wife, I believe is what it was, or ex-girlfriend. I think she was ex-wife, if I'm not mistaken. And mind you, Ohio does not have red flag laws in it, nor should we ever, is what it is. Because they're all unconstitutional. That's another thing that the Supreme Court should be taking up right now, is how unconstitutional red flag laws are and deeming them all unconstitutional, and then bang, knock that shit out. Everybody that's been fucked over by them gets their gun rights back and gets their guns back to them, is what it is then. So, anywho. But yeah, this guy basically was brought up on trumped up ass charges by some chick who he had left or they had broke up, whatever it was there. And you had the state of Ohio steal this guy's fucking property, take his guns from him for a while during this whole court case. And then it was over time throughout like the next 6 months or so during these court cases and stuff like that, that you had this chick's story change not once, not twice, but like 3 or 4 times, including on the stand, to where she was legitimately lying under oath. And finally, this judge had finally had it with her and was like, yeah, you're a liar. You're the one that's going to catch charges now for lying under oath, et cetera, there. And bailiff, give that man back his firearms. And that's exactly how that case ended. It was the only good time it actually ended a good way is what it was. So, anyway. Going back to this 1 minute clip here from moron Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs. Oh, sorry. This girl looks like fucking Antifa, by the way. Like if I ever were to guesstimate like an Antifa member without the mask on, it would be this chick, like one that has a job or whatever.
Gun violence is the #1 killer of kids and teens in America.
Okay, so she falsely claims that gun violence is the #1 killer of kids and teens in America. Okay, so we're gonna debunk that right now. Bloomberg stats add 18 and 19-year-old adults to children. Every town. Moms Demand Action made up that bullshit ass stat several years ago. It's absolute garbage, absolute fucking lies, bitch. You're a fucking liar, Sarah Jacobs, and you shouldn't be in Congress anymore based on that alone is what it is. That right there, her lying like that, straight-faced lies on the House floor should be an automatic disqualification from office right now.
America. For so many problems facing our country, we don't know what to do. We don't know exactly how to fix it. But gun violence is different.
Okay, so first of all, there was no such thing as gun violence, you dumb bitch. It was a made up fucking term by you Democrats in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, give or take. Maybe 10. I'm trying to remember exactly when I first heard that stupid terminology. It was on mainstream media for sure. It was maybe like right around the beginning of Trump's administration or end of Obama, somewhere in there. So it'd be like 2016, 2017, maybe someplace in there. That sounds about right, honestly. No, what you're talking about is you're talking about actual just violence, lady. And in most cases, what you're talking about is black on black homicide using firearms. You're talking about gang banging, etc., etc.
We know what to do, but Republicans lack the.
No, you don't know what to do, and that's the problem. So you're going to sit there and throw everything against the goddamn wall you can, you stupid bitch, and then falsely sit there and claim, oh, we're doing something. No, you're fucking trying to pass feel-good legislation to get reelected, you dumb cunt. And this right here is exactly why we need automatic disqualifications on every seat of power in this country as a 20th Amendment of the Constitution. I would go to even farther than that and say not only while you're sitting in office, but also even running for office, there should be auto DQs if you are running on anti-gun or anti-life platforms that are directly oath-breaking before you've even sworn an oath to the Constitution when you would take office. So you're a pre-oath-breaking sack of shit is what it is, dude.
Backbone to do it, and frankly, their justification.
But Republicans don't have the backbone to do it. Oh, you mean they actually give a shit about the Constitution in many cases, you dumb bitch? Like, unlike your ass, that's an oath-breaking fucking cunt. Sarah Jacobs? Yeah, bitch. I'm calling your ass out on that one. No, the only one without a fucking spine is spineless pieces of shit like you, lady. Fuck you.
Republicans lack the backbone to do it, and frankly, their justifications why aren't good enough. Fucking your party, alienating the NRA, or potentially risking your seat is worth it to save lives. And we can save lives by reinstating the federal assault weapons ban. The 1994 ban that was implemented when I was only 5 years old decreased gun massacres by 37%.
No, it actually didn't, you lying bitch.
And when that ban expired, gun massacres rose by 183%.
Okay, what exactly do you call gun massacres, lady? Are you talking about what you jackasses now consider to be a mass shooting, where you've changed the definition about 5 times now since the year 2000, to where it used to be 4 more dead, and then it was 3 or more dead, and then it was 4 more shot, and then it was, or no, sorry, how did it go? Yeah, it was 4 more dead, and then it was 3 or more dead, and like a couple shot, and then it was basically, I think, 4 or more shot, and then it was 3 or more shot, and now it's basically just like some random ass definition of something else now or whatever. It's like as long as there's like a couple people wounded, it counts as an actual mass shooting in this country according to these jackasses, which is fucked up because in most cases, when you look at what we're seeing now, when you look at everything like that, it is legitimately, in many cases, again, black on black crime in many ghettos across this country. You know, we've seen it here and there when it comes to the bullshit with, what was that one recently? The block party there, I think it was in Maryland or whatever recently, where it was some Section 8 housing. And you had a bunch of people decide to be fucking stupid. You had one guy pull out a gun and start firing off at somebody in the fucking crowd, most likely somebody he had a beef with, maybe a turf war with, for all we know, because it could have been fucking rival gangs for all that matter. And then you had some other people also pull guns out and start blasting. And that's the entire problem right now, dude. And yet that now counts as a mass shooting or a quote-unquote gun massacre, according to these jackasses. No. Violent crime like that, gang banger crime like that, in a major city is not fucking gun massacres, is not fucking gun violence, you dumb bitch. It is criminal crime. I forget what the actual terminology they used to use for it back in the day, but it was legitimately back in like the 90s and early 2000s, stuff like that. There used to be another term for it, and it was literally just like actual city violence, basically, is what it would have been then, or like city crime or something like that is what it would have been then considered. So, anyway, let's see. Continuing on for the next 15 seconds or so here.
Reinstating this ban would prevent parents from having to say their final goodbyes to their children. It would prevent the trauma we knowingly pass on to future generations.
What a
fucking... It would prevent the never-ending what-ifs, if-onlys, and what could have been when thinking about the loved ones we've lost. So I urge my colleagues to do the right thing and reinstate the federal assault weapons ban.
Jesus fucking Christ, lady. I agree with what this person says here. Oh yeah, For those who don't know, there's actually it's a parody Twitter account called Criminals for Gun Safety. And they said here, it's like, give up your armed security, lead by example. Don't do the ruling class privilege thing like a hypocrite. Exactly, dude. Let's see here now. As this person said, laughing my ass off. Or, lols, you think NRA has power. Exactly, that's the whole point entirely, dude. It's a bunch of crap entirely there. And this person said, said to Sarah, said you lie. According to CDC, accidents that are a leading cause of death for children and adolescents, the claim that guns are the leading cause of death for children would only be true if children under 1 are excluded and 18 and 19-year-old co-combatant gang members are counted as children, which is what it is at the end of the day, dude. And somebody else put a fast stats on that one, which is a CDC link, I'm thinking. Let's see. And I got that person spelling out "fuck you" with a bunch of guns. I like it. Oh, let me go ahead and yeah, don't want to do certain things there. I didn't realize that wasn't the thing there. I like the FBC thing there. It's a big snake. It just says "fuck you" no. And then we got here, it says pronouns listed, opinion discarded. Oh, does she have her pronouns listed on her profile? I gotta go look that shit up, actually, now I'm thinking about it, dude. Oh, yeah, it does. It says she, her. Nice. Yep, exactly, dude. And that's the problem, right? Like, okay, so this girl, right, she says she was 5 years old when the AWB went into place. I was 9 years old, bitch. You know who actually could have bought a gun, an actual AR, AK, etc., at the age of 19 when the AWB was done with? Myself. You know who was disqualified from doing so because it was still in place during that year when I was 18 and going into my 19th year on this earth? Myself. You know who couldn't buy a gun because they were underage? You stupid bitch. You know who else couldn't buy a gun because they were under the age of, I think it was 21. I think that's what you got to be now in California or whatever for all that stupid shit. You dumb bitch. Sarah Jacobs. This is the problem, dude. And again, if you're going to sit there and bitch and moan and babble on about shit like that, dude, and you're going to sit there and still have armed security or armed guards protecting your fucking bitch ass every day of your worthless ass life, you're just a hypocrite piece of crap in general, lady, legitimately. And that's the entire problem with our country in a nutshell right now, honestly, is people like that having any position of power in this country ever again is what it is. But anyway, basically right now, I got some stuff I got to do. About 10 minutes from doing some stuff in the game I play. Finally getting some good shit going on now. This last couple days, we were doing a base build yesterday that, as of about 3:30 to 4 o'clock this morning, got wiped off this earth basically in the game. It's basically our region and one of the other regions. There's like 3 regions in this season region, and it's us, and I think it's so it'd be us is 144, and then I think it's 138 is our partners in crime to some extent. And we're going against a much more powerful region, which is 127, which the one guy that was able to take the base out almost single-handedly. Oh my god, bro, that dude is such a pay to win. I was figuring it out this morning actually, because you had to have like X amount of money to get these vehicles and stuff. That dude spent at least $600 fucking to get 2 things in the game. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Must be nice to just have that kind of money you can just piss away. And it's like, dude, I wish I had $600 right now, because you know what I'd have? I would have several new firearms is what it would be. Because for that kind of money, I could legitimately get, a nice like Mossberg Maverick 88 security and at least like another, Taurus or whatever, like a G3C or something like that, probably for that kind of cash, or even just a good quality AR for that matter. So anyway, yeah, it'd be nice, man. Be nice to have that kind of cash just, willy-nilly throwing it around and being able to do whatever then. So, yeah. It sucks being poor. It really does. And I'm hoping one day to be rich. And unless I can either create something that'll be that thing or hit the lottery here one of these days soon, like maybe tonight or tomorrow or whenever the fuck the next drawing is here. I think it's tonight might be the Powerball that would be over $1 billion now. So That'd be nice, man. Even after taxes and stuff, we're still talking about half that, so it's like $500 million or whatever, probably, give or take. And then even after taxes on that, it'd probably be more like $250, $300 million. And that'd be a good deal, honestly, dude, because at least then I could have, like, a few million that I can invest into the network, is what it is, at the state level here. Be able to fight for gun rights the right way, self fund this actual shit now, and be done with it. And yeah, just be better overall, is what it is. I think I finally hit my mark today for the 20 hours on this particular account. So we will be back tomorrow. I'll just be doing it underneath a different account now, is what it is for the month. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for Buckshot Thursday. And then we'll do Freedom Friday this coming Friday. Not sure exactly what we'll talk about right now. It'll be something probably either 2A related or some other variation thereof, maybe. It might actually even be a continuation of what we're discussing in Buckshot Thursday, for that matter, because I'm pretty sure that mostly what we're going to talk about that one will be the stuff going on with Massachusetts for the most part, and then obviously the kind of gun control shit that they're trying to shove through the current NDA that shouldn't even exist in this country anymore, is what it is, because the NDA itself is a bunch of bullshit, garbage-ass legislation that does nothing but allows for indefinite detention of American citizens without any kind of due process, without any kind of warrants, without any kind of constitutional rights being allowed to them. And it's literally kidnapping, dude. It's literally government kidnapping and black bagging people onto some fucking random ass black site. Fuck that shit, dude, for real. And fuck the government entirely, for that matter, dude. Like most of the federal government at this point shouldn't even exist at all, is what it is. Starting with like pretty much every one of these scumbag ass politicians, like your Sarah Jacobs types. They should all be thrown the fuck out of office right now, thrown in jail where they belong, awaiting a bunch of fucking felony charges for every crime they committed right now, and we move on with our lives after that, dude. We have a better country after that because we completely do what the founding fathers have always talked about when they discuss things in the Constitution, which was every 100 years or so, you should literally have a complete and total purge of a fucking government, being the federal government at that point, and starting fresh entirely. And by purge, what they meant was removing everybody, removing all the criminals, removing everybody like that, giving them charges on the crimes they committed, etc. there, and legitimately then starting fresh with new people that are not corrupt pieces of shit. And actually having term limits on office, for God's sakes, would be a good fucking start right now, I think, honestly. It's like, yeah, you get, 10 years maximum or two senator terms, one of the two. It's either 10 years in Congress or 12 years in the fucking U.S. Senate. You choose which one you want to do, and other than that, go fuck yourself. Or if you want to do a combination thereof, okay, you can have two congressional terms and one Senate term, and then you're done. Or it would be like one Senate term and then two congressional terms after that, or whatever the case be, and then you're done. But anytime after that 10/12 years, you are gone from office. You are never allowed to hold elected office ever again. And unless you're running for a presidency or something like that, and it'd be as simple as that. And I would say the same exact thing at all state levels, for that matter, dude. It should be X amount of terms, like 8 years basically. And then unless you're running for governor or secretary of state or AG or something like that of the state, get the fuck out, bro. You're not welcome back. Fuck off. Go get a real job again, bitch. You're not a career politician. You should not be a career politician because you shouldn't have career politicians, period, in the story. And it's as simple as that. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you all tomorrow for Buckshot Thursday. Later.